Imagine a place where nearly everything you use every day is made. That's China's factories. Think of them as the world's giant workshop, humming day and night to produce the things we rely on. From the moment you wake up and check your phone, to the clothes you put on, to the toaster you use for breakfast, there's a good chance a piece of China is in your hands. China's factories make almost everything you can imagine: smartphones, t-shirts, sneakers, toys, kitchen gadgets, and even those tiny screws that hold your electronics together. If you look around your home, you'll probably spot dozens of things with "Made in China" stamped on them. But lately, something's changed. These factories, once bustling with activity, have started to slow down. Machines are sitting idle and workers are worried. This isn't just a local problem, it's a signal that something bigger is happening. Why does this matter? Because when China's factories catch a cold, the rest of the world starts sneezing. The global economy is so connected that a slowdown in China can ripple out, affecting businesses and families everywhere. Think about it. If fewer goods are being made in China, that means less stuff is shipped to stores around the world. Suddenly, shelves aren't as full, and it's harder to find the things you want or need. And when there's less stuff to go around, prices start to climb. Everyday items, from toys to electronics to clothes, can suddenly cost a lot more. That hits everyone's wallet, no matter where you live. No one likes paying more for the same things. It's frustrating for shoppers, stressful for families, and tough for businesses trying to keep customers happy. But it doesn't stop there. When China's economy slows, it can drag down other countries too. Stock markets can tumble, companies can lose money, and even jobs in faraway places can be at risk. The truth is, what happens in China doesn't stay in China. Our economies are linked together like a giant web. When one part shakes, the whole thing can wobble. That's why we all need to pay attention. So, why are China's factories slowing down? There are a few reasons, some complicated, some simple. But one of the biggest factors started a few years ago when a certain former reality TV star decided to take on China with tariffs and tough talk. That's right, it's Donald Trump and his trade war. His policies set off a chain reaction that's still being felt today, not just in China but all around the world. Remember tariffs? Those little things that sound boring but can actually shake up the entire global economy? Well, buckle up, because tariffs are about to become the main character in our story. If you're scratching your head, here's a quick refresher. Tariffs are basically taxes that one country slaps on goods coming in from another country. Imagine you're at a border, and every time a product tries to cross, it gets hit with a fee. That's a tariff. It's like a toll booth. But for everything from electronics to t-shirts. Now, enter Donald Trump. In 2018, he decided that the best way to deal with what he saw as unfair trade practices from China was to go big, really big, on tariffs. He announced sweeping new taxes on hundreds of billions of dollars worth of Chinese goods. The idea? Make Chinese products more expensive in the US so Americans would buy less of them and hopefully buy more American-made stuff instead. We're not talking about a small price bump here. Some tariffs shot up to 140% or even higher. Suddenly everything from sneakers to washing machines to electronics got a whole lot pricier. It was like someone flipped a switch and made in China mean costs a fortune. Picture this. You walk into your favorite store, spot a $10 t-shirt, and when you check the price tag, it's now $24. That's not just inflation, that's the power of tariffs in action. Suddenly, everyday shopping feels like a luxury experience. Unsurprisingly, China wasn't exactly thrilled about being hit with these massive new taxes. For Chinese manufacturers and exporters, it was like being told, hey, we don't want your affordable products anymore. Factories faced uncertainty, business leaders scrambled to adapt, and warehouses started to pile up with unsold goods. So, what did China do? They didn't just sit back and take it. Instead, they fired back with their own tariffs on American products. It was a classic case of tit for tat, with both sides raising the stakes. Suddenly, American farmers found it harder to sell soybeans in China. Car companies saw their vehicles gathering dust in showrooms, and even things like whiskey and lobsters got caught in the crossfire. Chinese shoppers faced higher prices on American goods, and some products disappeared from shelves altogether. And that, my friends, is how a simple disagreement over trade rules can spiral into a full-blown trade war. A tariff war, where both sides keep raising barriers, hoping the other will blink first. The result? Higher prices, global uncertainty, and a whole lot of drama on the world stage. Imagine you're standing on the edge of a city, watching as dark, swirling clouds gather on the horizon. You know a storm is coming, one that could change everything. What do you do when you see that kind of threat approaching? Most people would spring into action, trying to protect what matters most before the first raindrop falls. You'd probably start by boarding up the windows, making sure your home or business is as secure as possible. Maybe you'd rush to move valuables to higher ground or double-check your emergency supplies. It's all about getting ready, doing whatever you can to minimize the damage before the storm hits. Now imagine you're running a business in China, and instead of a weather storm, you see a different kind of threat on the horizon: tariffs. When Chinese companies saw these tariffs looming, they reacted just like anyone would facing a storm. They scrambled to prepare, looking for ways to shield themselves from the coming economic downpour. Their solution? Move fast. Factories ramped up production, workers hustled to pack goods, and shipping companies raced against the clock. The goal was simple: get as many products as possible out of China and into the United States before the tariffs took effect. And this wasn't just a small uptick in business. Ports became jam-packed with containers, and shipping schedules were pushed to their limits. The scale of this effort was massive, like trying to evacuate an entire city before a hurricane makes landfall. The numbers tell the story. In the months leading up to the tariffs, Chinese exports to the U.S. surged by more than 12%. That's billions of dollars worth of goods, all racing to beat the deadline. It was a logistical marathon, with every day and every shipment counting. Picture cargo ships leaving port at full capacity, warehouses buzzing with activity, and forklifts zipping through aisles to load goods as quickly as possible. It was a mad dash, a race against time and policy, all to get products across the ocean and into American warehouses before the new rules changed the game. But here's the thing about storms: no matter how fast you run, you can't outrun them forever. The clouds always catch up, and the rain eventually falls. The same was true for these tariffs. Eventually the tariffs arrived, and the rush slowed. The initial surge gave way to new challenges as the economic storm settled in. Factories and shipping companies had to face the reality that the rules had changed for good. The export rush was over. Production lines slowed, and ships no longer left port in a frenzy. The storm had caught up, and the scramble to outrun it was finished. In the end, the export surge provided only a temporary boost. It couldn't change the long-term impact of the tariffs. Like any storm, the effects lingered long after the clouds had passed, leaving businesses to pick up the pieces and adapt to a new reality. Remember that PMI thing we talked about earlier? The Purchasing Managers Index? Well, it's basically a gauge of how healthy a country's manufacturing sector is. A PMI above 50 means things are growing. Below 50? Not so much. And guess what? China's PMI recently took a nosedive, plunging to 49. That means their manufacturing activity is actually shrinking. It's the first time that's happened in months, and it's a clear sign that those tariffs are starting to bite. But it's not just the PMI. Orders are down, factories are idling, and some businesses are even packing up and moving production to other countries to avoid the tariffs altogether. It's not exactly the thriving manufacturing powerhouse China once was. Remember those millions of people working in China's factories? Well, some of them might be looking for new jobs soon. Experts predict that if these tariffs stick around, up to 16 million jobs in China could be lost. That's like the entire population of the Netherlands suddenly out of work. And it's not just jobs. The whole Chinese economy is feeling the heat. The International Monetary Fund, Goldman Sachs, UBS, all these big financial institutions have lowered their growth forecasts for China. They're basically saying don't expect China to grow as fast as it used to. And when the world's second largest economy slows down, everyone feels the ripple effects. Okay, time for a quick lesson on something called the de minimis rule. It's a fancy way of saying that if you ship something small and cheap to the US, under $800, you don't have to pay tariffs on it. Think of it like a loophole for cheap goods. Now who do you think loves this loophole? That's right, Chinese online retailers. Sites like Temu and Shein built their entire business model on selling super cheap stuff directly to American shoppers, all thanks to this de minimis rule. But guess what? The US decided to close this loophole. Now even those cheap t-shirts and phone cases are getting hit with tariffs. And that means higher prices for American shoppers and a big headache for Chinese online businesses. So, China's economy is hurting, jobs are at risk, and even their cheap online goods are getting slapped with tariffs. What's a country to do? Well, if you're China, You try to stimulate your way out of trouble. Think of it like giving your economy an energy drink. China's government has been cutting interest rates, making it easier for people to borrow money and spend. They've also been investing in infrastructure projects like building roads and bridges to create jobs. They're even trying to boost domestic demand, encouraging Chinese citizens to buy more stuff made in China. It's a multi-pronged approach to try and offset the pain from those pesky tariffs. Despite all the evidence to the contrary, China's government wants everyone to know that everything is fine. Really it is. Those factory closures? Just a temporary blip. The plunging PMI? Don't worry about it. They've been engaging in a bit of what we like to call positive messaging. Think state-run media downplaying the trade war's impact, and officials talking up China's economic resilience. It's a classic case of fake it till you make it, but whether the rest of the world is buying it is another story. So, what's the takeaway from all of this? Well, trade wars aren't exactly fun for anyone. They disrupt global supply chains, lead to higher prices for consumers, and create uncertainty for businesses. That means that your next smartphone might be more expensive, your favorite Chinese takeout spot might raise prices, and that cheap t-shirt you've been eyeing online? Yeah, forget about it. The trade war between the US and China is a lose-lose situation. It's a stark reminder that we live in a globalized world, and when two economic giants start throwing tariffs at each other, everyone feels the pain. So, the next time you hear about a trade war, remember, it's not just about politics and economics, it's about your wallet and the future of the global economy.